My name is Steve. Welcome back to my shop and Shark Bits edition number 43. It's been a while since I posted a video and I've had a lot going on here in the shop. I've been grinding up a lot of the precision ground flat stones, and I'm working on a small production run of an item that I really can't share with you on video. So it's been a while since I've been on YouTube, but I wanted to make sure that everybody knew that I was still alive and well and kicking, and so I'm producing this edition of Shark Bits just to bring you up to date. And I got a couple more videos in the can that are ready to be presented very shortly, so it won't be quite as long in the future. So what I'm going to do is bring you over to the workbench and we'll get up and close with a few new items. One of my future projects is to make a tooling block, a precision tooling block. And I got myself a piece of 4140 that I'm going to make it out of. Ideally, I would have liked to have used A2 tool steel, but the price of a block of A2 tool steel was just way beyond what I could justify for the value of this particular project. For the amount that this is going to get used, I'm going to machine it out of this 4140, and we'll treat it in my new hot shot oven, and I think it'll be enough to last my lifetime for sure. For today's machining portion of this video, I'm going to take this over to the mill and show you how to square up a block in just 2 setups. So that's something to look forward to. This past August, I went to the Threshermen's reunion at Rough and Tumble Engineers Museum out in Lancaster County, Pennsylvania. I try and get there every year. I really like the flea market that they run at that. And this year, this was my big find. It is an Starrett number 98 precision level. And this one is a 12-inch, and it's like brand new, and I can't believe the price of it. The guy almost apologized when he told me how much he wanted for it, and I said, I'll take it. I didn't even try and get him down on the price. I said, that's very fair. And so now I have myself a 12-inch level. I have a 6-inch that I used for setting up my lathe, but this one will be even better. Nice addition to the machine shop. I also picked up this set of Central Tool Company telescoping gauges, and I have odds and ends. I've got a few Starretts, and I've got an import set that's got a larger range than this. But the import set, although it's nice, it just doesn't have the feel of a real good quality tool. And to be quite honest with you, the Central tools are very high quality, made in USA product. And for the home shop machinist that's looking to buy tooling and precision tooling, don't overlook some of these lesser known names like Brown and Sharp, although that's a very popular one, Central, Lufkin. They all sell for a fraction of the price that Starrett does, and they're every bit as good a quality as Starrett. So keep that in mind when you're looking. Don't overlook some of these other brands. When I had my machine shop, in the automotive machine shop. I actually was a central dealer. So even though I have probably half of my precision tools are Starrett, I have a pretty good selection of Central also. And these are like brand new. They look like they've hardly ever been used. And they had a set of Starretts also. And this was 1/3 the price that they were asking for the Starretts. A couple of months ago, I got a text from one of my high school friends that has since moved away. And he said that he had picked up some odds and ends at an auction or flea market or something. And this Morse practical guide was among the items in that lot that he had purchased. And he asked me if I had any interest in it. And I said, absolutely. And so he sent it in the mail to me. I had one of these that was my grandfather's, who was a tool and die maker, and I've used it so much, and he had used it so much that it had really fallen apart. I still have it, but it has become impractical to use it. And not too long ago, I actually purchased a much later edition of it, a newer one. But this, I believe, is the same edition that I had from my grandfather. This one was actually shown as being printed in around 1950. It's in excellent condition, and I'm really excited to have it. This is prior to the Black Book. This is the go-to, and it had a couple of Starrett decimal charts in it, and just a real nice piece to add to my reference collection in the shop. So thank you, Gary. One of my most popular videos ongoing, and it comes up as being watched most frequently, almost on a weekly basis, is the one that I did on balancing a surface grinding wheel. And the process that I used was to actually drill the material away with a masonry bit in the wheel. And it is a process that's industry accepted, and I have been doing for many, many, many years. But I've never been happy with it. I don't have any problem doing it, but I do have a problem with trying to show someone else how to do it that might not have the feel for the drill, and they end up drilling too deep or drilling through the wheel and destroying it or making it unsafe. And I have seen these balance rings presented by a couple of different YouTubers, and I had every intention of making some. A matter of fact, I even bought a piece of material to make them on one of my videos, and I still may. But this set became available. Chuck Bomarito of Outside Screwball had these made up. They were actually manufactured by another YouTuber. They were manufactured by Joe Piesinski, and Chuck bought a large quantity of them from him, had him made them up, and he has made them available for sale, and I believe that he still has some available. And what you do with these is you mount them on the arbor. Now there's actually two different ways that they will fit. There you go. More often than not, they suggest that you put it on the wheel, put the steel nut, and then thread that on. And these are made to fit a couple of different size hubs. And depending on the clearance that you have on your machine, in my particular case, I don't have too much clearance on the front because I don't have the correct guard. on my machine, I'm going to end up putting it on the back of the wheel, and it really doesn't make any difference. So the wheel will go on, this will go against the paper disc on the wheel, and then be held on with the nut. And that's the way I believe that I'm going to be doing it. I will be producing a video on actually how to use these to balance a grinding wheel in the very near future. And the way that it works is they supply a number of set screws that you can thread into the holes to create your offset for the weight. And he supplies, I think he supplied like maybe 8 screws per disc, I forget how many, and a couple of different lengths so that you can vary the weight. And some of them even have the dog point on them. And the reason he uses the dog point is because you could actually grind some weight off of that. However, for all practical purposes, that's a lot closer than you're ever going to need to balance a grinding wheel. And with the process that's used in static balancing, I don't think you'll ever see the amount of weight that's ground off of that tip. But when I put that video together, we'll talk about the sequencing and how you align the weights on it to balance your grinding wheel using these discs. I'll leave contact information in the description of the video for Chuck if you want to contact him to see if these are still available. To be quite honest with you, at the price that he was asking for multiple units, I don't know that it's worth my time to actually make them, although I probably will. One of the other things that I wanted to talk about today in this edition of Shark Bits is Toolfest 2021. Hashtag Toolfest 2021. In the past several years, Emma from Emma's Spare Room Machine Shop has sponsored tool making competition in conjunction with the Bar Z Bash. And this year she decided that she wanted to do something a little different. She wasn't going to the bash, and so in brainstorming it, we've come up with Toolfest 2021. And this will be a showcase to build a tool, create a video, the best video that you can put together, and they are all going to be presented the same day in November. I think it's November 24th. And everybody that's involved with Toolfest is going to launch their video that same day. And I decided I'm going to participate in it. And I'm going to build a tool out of this piece of 3/4 inch square 4140 steel. And that's all I'm going to tell you about it at this point. So mark your calendars and watch for Toolfest 2021. I want to show you how I'm going to square up this block in just 2 setups. And it will be squared up, obviously, as only as accurate as the vise and the table of the mill. But afterwards, I'm going to be precision grinding it. So I just need to get it close. So what I've done is that I have set it up, and this block is saw cut. It's still got the mill scale on the sides of it. And I used a piece of a soft brass rod. You can use copper or aluminum. And I've got a piece of that down in there between the vise jaw and the piece to make up for any irregularities, so it'll hold it nice and tight. The first thing I'm going to do, I've got a 3/4 inch roughing end mill. Normally I would face this off with a shell mill or a fly cutter, but I don't want to do multiple setups. This is a 2 setup procedure, so I'm just going to use the 3/4 inch roughing end mill and do all my cutting using that without changing out the tooling. So now that I've got it set up, let's get started. I'm going to touch down my quill, and I'm just going to take a real quick run around and knock off any of the high spots, see where I stand here. That's what I expected, was that was the high side. We'll just run around the whole thing just to make sure. In fact, I actually did start on the high spot. That's what I suspected. I'm just going to go down at 10, I'll make it 15 thousandths. As possible. I want to make it as large as I can. I don't care the actual size of it. Looks like that's a low spot. I'm going to go another 10 thousandths. I'm going to make it 15. I think that'll clean it up. Okay, so that surface is flat now. Now the key to this procedure is to mount your block more than halfway exposed on the top. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to run the cutter down to more than half the thickness of the block. I can't really get the rule in, but I'm over an inch deep on it. So now what I'm going to do is take and side mill the block. I'll go in and touch off, and we'll do conventional milling, and I'm going to touch off and go all the way around the block. Off this Y travel, and I'm going to move about, let's try 10 thousandths. Go just a little bit more. I want to make sure I get under that mill scale. I'm going to touch off on the side. Lock off my X travel. There again, I'm going to go about 15 thousandths. Actually, on this end, I'm going to end up having to take several passes because there's a radius on the corner that I want to make sure I machine off. Of what I'm doing now. Unlock my X travel. Gonna touch down on the back. Lock the Y. Gonna go about 15 thousandths. Continue all the way around the block until I get all the corners square. So I'll bring you back when I'm ready to flip it over and do the other side. Okay, I've been around all four sides now, so I'm going to deburr it and flip it over. Back is done, end is done. This side is done. You can see I've gone a couple of thousandths too deep on this pass. Most of that is a burr, actually. It's only a couple of thousandths, but for the purposes of what I'm doing, it's just fine. Yeah, it's only maybe 2 thousandths. Most of what you see there is a little bit of a raised up burr. I took and drop the mill down a little bit deeper when I continued on the rest of the block, because it was just at the edge of where the old cut was. So I'm going to finish off. This end is pretty well finished. I'll take one more cut, about 2/1000 on that, and then I can surface off the top. That's good. You can probably see, I'll zoom in on it here. I've still got a radius on this corner here, but the block is all squared up. So at this point, I'll just put it back in the vise and clean off each side with the shell mill in one pass, which will really true it up. But right now I'm going to resurface it, and you've already seen that once, so I'm not going to show it to you again. Well, here it is. The nominal dimensions on this, it's a 2-3-4 block. Yeah, not too bad. Pretty close to my 2-3-4 block. A little bit longer, just a tiny bit longer, but I'm not going for accurate dimensions on this. What I'm going for is being accurately square. And with the machinist square, it's right on the money. What I'll do is I fixed the one side. It was here it is, that I had overshot on, and I put it back in, and I shaved it off so it's nice and flat now. So what I'm going to do now, before I put it in the surface grinder, is now that it's all nice and squared up, I'll just go through and put a finish on it using my 3-inch shell mill, just to improve the surface finish on it a little bit. And the other thing that I want to do, I got to take enough material off of it to get rid of this radius on this corner. And I've got extra length on it, so I'll take it off of the length in order to get it down to that. So that's how you square up a block in 2 setups. One of the things that I do in my shop, and I have talked about it at different times, but I've never really done a quote-unquote advertisement on it. I grind up the precision ground stones. This is an older set. It's a set that I use in the shop. I just cleaned them up. And these are 1 5/8 wide by 4 inches long. I believe it's 3/4 of an inch, or not 3/4, but 5/8 of an inch thick. And they are ground on 4 sides, both flats and the edges. And these end up so flat that they actually nearly ring together. You can actually feel the resistance when you pull them apart. This is the larger set, which by far is the more popular one. These are 2x6 and they're 1 inch thick. I have a video which I will reference in the description on the use and care of the precision ground stones, in case you're interested. And like I said, I do produce these in my shop. The stones that I use are made in the USA. They're not a brand name stone. I found that most of them are made in Mexico now. I have not been real thrilled with the quality of them coming out of Mexico. These stones come out of a small manufacturer out in the Midwest, and I have had very, very few problems with them. Made in USA and remachined in the USA. If you're interested in purchasing a set or pricing information on the stones, I have them listed in an Etsy store, and you can visit the Etsy store. You don't have to join Etsy to purchase. You can purchase them as a guest. Take all the different payment methods through Etsy. They also take care of the state sales tax. And if you are an international buyer, email me, because I handle the international a little bit differently. I don't sell them through the Etsy store because I have no control on what countries they go to that way without a lot of difficult setup and so on. So if you are interested, I have shipped these all over the world. I've got them in Australia. I've got them in Great Britain, Belgium, Germany. I believe I know I sent a set to Italy, and I believe that I have a set in Japan. So I do send them all over the country. It's flat rate shipping, but it is an additional shipping cost to what's listed in Etsy. It's an additional $30 shipping, but it's still fairly reasonable for what the product is. So if you're interested in international, just send me an email and I will send you an invoice that you can pay through PayPal. That's going to wrap up this edition of Shark Bits. I want to thank you for stopping by and joining me in my shop, and I promise you that I have some project videos coming up shortly. See you in the next video.